Hey everybody, this is Seth with SethPerler.com, and I'm making a video today for parents and teachers. And this one is on content, process, and product. Excuse me for the lights here. I'm not in my normal studio, and this is a pretty high glare board. Sorry about that. Anyhow, I want to talk about something called content, process, and product. And the value in this for teachers is that it's one of my favorite ways to be able to break down curriculum in my head and really understand if it's serving the kids and how to maximize how it serves the kids. And for parents, this is a great way for you, a real quick way for you to be able to evaluate curriculum and evaluate lessons and homework and put it through sort of a filter in your head to see if there's anything that can be tweaked in order to make modifications so that it better serves your child and they get more out of the educational learning experience. So, content, process, and product. In a nutshell, what this means is content is what you learn, process is how you learn, and product is how you show what you learned. So content could be, for example, learning to multiply 2-digit by 2-digit numbers. That could be content. Content could be reading of Mice and Men and learning about fiction, for example. Or content could be learning about space or whatever. So content is what you're learning. It could be anything that you can think of in a curriculum. It's basically the objectives or the goals or what are we supposed to be learning? What's the content, okay? The process is how you learn it. Oh, by the way, content can be a small lesson. It could be a mini lesson that's 3 minutes long. It could be an entire class that's a half hour or an hour long, or it could be an entire unit. So content can be looked at in many different ways. Process is how you're going to learn something. So process, one great way to look at process is AVK, auditory, visual, and kinesthetic. People who are more auditory, they can process information more by listening. These are kids often who memorize song lyrics like awesomely. So that's just one example of that. There are many ways that you can learn auditorially. Visually, these are kids who they might be very visual spatial. They might be awesome with Legos and imagination and seeing things in their head and coming up with these visual ideas and remembering visually what every detail looks like of something. And kinesthetic would be touch. That would be a lot of times your super athletes are very kinesthetic people, dancers, people who use their bodies in their careers when they're older. As kids, they're very kinesthetic learners. So that's just one way to look at process. Now, everybody uses all three. Everybody uses auditory, visual, and kinesthetic, but some people are very dominant in one or two of these areas and really depend very highly on them. I tend to be mostly visual, and then I tend to be kinesthetic. As you can see, I use my hands a lot and I move a lot when I'm teaching, for example, and my auditory is the one that I use the least, but I use all three, so everybody does. So anyhow, that's a little bit about how you can look at process, but what you want to know is that when a kid's sitting in a class, they're processing information. So are they processing their learning through experiential learning, through listening to a lecture, which is known to be pretty much the worst way to learn, through conversation, through dialogue, through video, through seeing displays, through seeing experiments and experiencing experiments. So how are they processing the information? Are they reading? Are they listening? Are they watching? What's going on to process the information, the content? How are they processing it? How are they learning it? And then the product has to do with how they show their learning. And what tends to happen in American schools is we have two main products, tests and papers. We are very stuck way in the box. We have these blinders on, and we seem to think that the only way that we can evaluate kids is testing and writing papers. So we see, you got your multiple choice tests, you got your short answer tests, you got your essay tests, you got all of these different types of tests and quizzes and exams, and that is supposed to show that the child or the student, could be a college student, whatever, has processed the content and learned it. So the product is supposed to show that. And when you are looking at content, a lot of teachers will use curriculum to build their content. So they're not really encouraged to get to create creatively differentiated curriculum. They're encouraged to do what the curriculum tells them to do, to basically read the script of the curriculum, not to be creative. So the content can often be dictated, but if the content is really not engaging to your child, then what you want to do is try to figure out how can you make that content engaging. Now, teachers, you can do this in many ways. What I used to do when I was teaching is to create units based on figuring out what the main things I wanted the kids to learn were. And then as far as when we did what I call passion projects, they would have complete choice over what detail they chose to learn. So for example, let's say that we were learning about the Roman Empire. Then I would have certain things that I wanted everybody to learn that were key concepts for whatever reason. And then when they did the passion projects, if somebody was particularly interested in the armor that the Romans used, they could do a whole study on that, an in-depth study in that particular area. Or if they were interested in how they utilized water, they could completely study that. So the product, again, is often a test or a paper of some sort. And what you want to do is understand that there are many, 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 many ways to create a product. And if you're a parent advocating for your child and you know that they've learned the content, but that they're not able to show it on the test effectively, but you know they've learned it or that they're capable of learning it, then you want to advocate for them to be able to show their learning in different ways. And you can really think outside the box. This video you're watching right now is a product. My outline is 3 words long. The rest of it's coming from my head. This is my guide right here. That's my product. The blog post that goes with this could be a product. Creating a model could be a product. Singing could be a product. Any form of art could be a product. If you were looking at the armor from the Roman era, for example, if the child created a drawing of that armor or created the armor and taught about it to people, like those are both products. Actually, even the teaching of it, a child teaching that to other students would be a product. Anything that shows the learning that has taken place can be the product. So there's hundreds of types of products that you could use. So anyhow, if you're a teacher, this can help you to really look at what am I teaching and why? Why am I teaching the content? And really question yourself and check yourself and be like, how valuable is this for the long-term well-being of the child? Now, there can be many reasons for this, but you want to have clarity about that. You don't want to just follow the prescription of the curriculum and just regurgitate it. You really want to think, how does this matter? Why does this matter? And how can I enhance this? When you're looking at process, you want to think about all these different ways that kids process, and that's the differentiation, and giving kids opportunities to process in many different ways. And then the product, I think, is the real key here. Like, give them as much choice as humanly possible in terms of how they're going to show their learning. So that's all I got for you today, real quick one. I hope you're having an awesome day, and I'll see you soon. Take care.